Hello everyone and welcome back to Pazzo Gaming. Today we're going to be going through how to get a basic Applied Energistics network up and running. So we're basically going to do the bare bones of what's needed and kind of show a little bit of how the base structure between some of the cabling and how you connect some of the devices together. This will lead into further spotlights, which we're going to go through in much more detail each of the items. And as we build out our base, we're going to continue to add in other items, like kind of how we have over here, our controller. We're also going to build out, this will be a big data warehouse back here where we're going to have all our storage banks and everything else. But we're going to build just a very simple one right now and just go through the basics of how to build it and how to get you up and running and how you get started. And then we're going to, in later episodes, we're going to build that into our base or our castle that we have here. So the very first thing what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and get some cables going. And so the cables are very important. It's how you connect everything within Applied Energistics. And you connect your storage to your machines, to transport items, to transport power, to all those things. So they're very important, and this is how you kind of get going with them. So very first thing you want to do is you want to build some quartz fiber, and it's made up of 6 glass around the outside. And then you can use nether quartz dust. And then that will create you 3 quartz fibers. With the quartz fiber, you can then put one of those with your pure flux crystal we made in our previous episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, I guess, and the flux crystal we made also, and that will give you 4 basic the ME glass cables, and this is the flux one, so it's the uncolored one, which you can dye them as well, and we'll go through that here in a little bit. From there, this is the building point for the other cables, and there's about 4 core types of cables. All the types of cables are built from this one, and they're all kind of upgrades along the way, increasing the density really and how much can go across it, along with some information such as getting to the smart cables, which we'll go to in a sec. They give you information on the line, the amount of channels that are currently on it visually as well. So once you have those, then you can go in and you can actually build your things like a covered cable. So you can take your flux with some wool, and that will give you a covered cable. So a covered cable really does nothing different than the regular cable, except it's aesthetically more pleasing, I guess. It's more of a solid color versus the, let's see if we can put them out here. So we got, where do I have it here? We got some glass cable and some covered cable, and I'll just put them side by side and you'll kind of see them. So really, there's nothing too different between them, but we got some covered cable right here, and again it's the uncolored one, so it's just brown right now, but you can get blue, green, purple, all the other colors. So you can see the difference in what they do. Between this cable and that cable, they do the exact same thing. So there's really no difference functionality for these two, just the looks and aesthetics of it. From there, once you have your covered cable, you can build things such as your smart cable, which you add in a piece of redstone. So you take your covered cable, in this case it was the white one, but you can use any of the colors. The color does not determine it. You can add a redstone in there and then add a glowstone, and that will give you your smart cable. So your smart cables act slightly different, and again we'll build a little thing here in a sec. I'm just going to put them side by side. You can see them all here. The smart cable again looks a little different. This one is the blue version, as you can tell, but there's a little black bar you can see on all these connectors. And what it will do is it's actually going to show you how many channels are running through it visually, along with if you have NEI installed, you'll see at the very top, it says 0 of 8 channels right now. You get those kind of information with a smart cable. And then once you have the smart cables, you can actually build things such as the dense cable. So your dense cable is made up of your 4 covered cables, some redstone, and some glowstone dust. And that will give you your dense cable. And your dense cable, all the dense cables are essentially smart cables for that matter. But again, they can hold more channels. And you'll notice how these ones did not connect, and that is because different colors will not connect to each other without having a non-colored one in between, or a device such as, let's say, your ME interface or things like that within them. So it's a great way you can lay lots of colors and lots of conduit and lots of connectivity right beside each other or on top of each other. And much like I put this here, it will not connect, but these will. So you can get a great design with all of them. And again, there's the black bar down the middle, which will show the number of channels going through it. The dense cables will hold 32 channels going through them at any given time. And again, all the other cables will only hold 8. So you got your smart cable, your covered cable, and then your basic glass cable. And they all have, like I said, again, different aesthetics and different other items and different uses too on how you want to lay them out. So On top of this too, if we really want to get into a little bit of detail, which we'll go to in a later episode, but we can get into things like Ender.io, which will connect to these. And this one, you can color code some of these again and tie them up. You can dedicate channels. This is the basic Ender.io, and on this side we could do the dense one. And you'll notice there's just a slightly different pattern within them. There's not much else difference. You'll notice NEI does show the number of channels on it. This one has 32 at the top, and this one has 8, as you can see at the very top again. So, and we could use something like the Ender.io because it essentially is a Fluix connection. It will connect to any. We could use it to join these two together, much like this. Again, it would be limited to the lowest amount of connections, and you can see off of this one only comes 8. Which would be the lowest one, which is this connection right here. We could use our dense one, and we can connect it on this side. And we notice how it will do dense coming out here, but it again goes into the 8. So that's the lowest common denominator of your connection. It'll always be limited by that. So in this case, it's the 8 at this point. So now that we have all our cables kind of down pat and kind of what some of the options are for the different types of cables and connection, let's get a basic little network going here. So what we're going to do, very first thing, anything with applied energetics does take power to run. So we're going to use a power acceptor, and your power acceptor will allow you to power your AE network, and what it does is it converts RF, which we have coming in here on the Ender.io power cable here from our storage bank, which is upstairs, and it will convert it to AE. So coming off that, what we're going to do is we could build a little ME drive. So I think I have this laid out over here, which is fairly straightforward to make, and it's kind of the basics for the core bulk storage within your ME network that you're going to have in the end. So this will require 4 iron ingots, along with 2 engineering processors, which we went through in the previous episodes. So you can check out those if you want to know how to make those with your inscriber. And then it requires 2 of the basic, just Fluix glass cables, and that will get you your ME drive. So I'm just going to put that down, and we're going to put one of those, we'll put it over here on the left. So we'll just connect it over there. And we need to run some cable. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to run smart cable, because it's the most visually easy to see, I guess, type of cable. And we're going to put it right, I'll run it right to here. I'll have that one come up, and we'll have this one come up. So now we have that connected. You'll notice that there's one thin blue line here that was added, and that represents the one channel that is in use with the ME drive. And you'll notice on this side we don't have, well, we shouldn't have, I don't know why it came off this side. Oh, I know why we have it. Because we don't have a controller, it's not designated. So normally it would only show up on the one side, not the other. So if I break this, you notice how it went away. If I put this here, because this entire network, as far as it knows, can have a maximum of 8 devices, unless we go and we add a controller. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later here. Right now we're just going to work on this. So now that we have our drive, we can actually put a disk within it. And I think I had a disk here. Did I not? I have a disk right here. So we're going to put our disk just in any of these slots. And you'll notice you can move it around. You can put it over here. So we'll put a third one down, and it represents there. There are different color codes. I believe it's green is there's storage available. There's orange, there's storage available, but they can't accept any different types of storage. So let's say you have, it's all filled with wood and everything else, but let's say you don't have 1,000 wood in there. You only have 500. It can hold more wood, but it cannot hold stone. So you have more of the same type available if it's orange. And if it's red, I believe, or black, I can't remember, one of those two, red or black, it is full. And that card can no longer take any more of anything. And so that's where you can kind of designate just by looking at it visually. When you have this full of discs, you can see green, 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 green. It may be, let's say, orange at the bottom, and this one might be red or black over here. So you can kind of see which disc is which. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a storage monitor on one end, which will be, we'll put that here. And we notice as soon as we did that, it added 2 lines. So we have 2 thin blue lines. We have one at the top and one kind of towards the middle. And we're going to add in a terminal, and your terminal is your basic interface for getting in and out of the network, kind of initially. It has some pretty cool items, or abilities, I guess we'll say. So you can just simply right-click on it. You can sort it, and you can sort by number of items, mod, type, there's a whole bunch of things. I usually leave it by item name. Number of items, too, is also sometimes beneficial for what you're looking for. The most beneficial ping is searching at the top, so you can just look for cats, let's say. But in this case, there are no cats in there. You can also view by things that you can craft if you have the crafting engine within your applied energetics, within a terminal or things like that, or an interface on your network. And we'll get well into that later on. That's a whole nother episode going through the whole auto crafting and everything else. But that's where the power comes within this network is you can click a button here that says, hey, I want to build, let's say, 60 iron ingots, and what it will do is actually go off. It will talk to your, let's say, your SAG mills. It will talk to your all the steps required and all the machines required to make your ingots, and it will create them and put them back in your network. So you can just simply then come here and just pick it out. And it may take 30 seconds for it to do that. You could speed it up probably as fast as even 10 seconds, right? But it all depends on what you build later on. So that's a big, long episode for that one. Sort order, again, it's your search box. And then you can change your terminal style. So it's just either big or small. I would only adjust this really depending on your resolution. If you had a really small resolution, this is probably better because then it doesn't stretch too big on your screen. But if you do have a full screen, I would keep it to that. So now that we have this, we can actually put some items in there. So I can just simply right click and you'll notice that the quantity goes up as I place them in. So we'll put, let's put 12 bread in there. We'll put, let's say, some iron ingot in there. And we can put, what else do we have? We could put some laboratory blocks in there as well. And we'll put our sign in. So that basically has allowed us to store those items onto this disk. And you can see there's 4 different types of items that we've used, along with we've consumed 37 bytes of the 124 available for storage. So each card can only hold 36 types of items, and then you just change the quantity that it can hold of those items on top of that. And that's where, like I said, the color coding comes in for those. What else do we want to go through really quick? One thing you could do is, so I did add this storage monitor, more just have another device on the network, but we can add things like this. We can simply hold down left control and right click with an item in our hand, and what it will do is do a visual display of that item. And so this has a counter. So if I go place, let's say I go place some of these in my network, and actually I'm going to move this. Oops. Don't know what that was. I'm going to go place it over here, and I'm going to do it right beside it just so you can see it pretty easily here. We're going to connect this in, we're going to put our terminal there, and you can actually watch here on the left as I place them in. You'll notice that the counter goes up, and so it's just a visual way that I can see in any time, just at a quick glance, how many are in there. So I can say 5, and you could do like that. So you could have these around your base, you could have it beside your machinery, you could have it in various spots, but they're very handy to display items like that. And again, you could just right click and shift it to any other different types of items within your network. In our case, like I said, we have the 5 orange in there. I could also then, if I go to bread, it should show the amount of bread that is in the network, which is 12, and we can confirm that by looking over here. So that covers pretty much it. There's some other items that you can branch out with. So this network, without a controller, you can build a network that is limited to 8 devices. So the acceptor does not count as one, but we have 3 devices. So we have this, the terminal, we have the storage monitor, and we have the one drive. It will max out at 8, and if I add some, just to show you the counter on the smart cable here, I'll add them on the back here. You can notice every item I put adds another bar. So now you can see there's 4 blue bars, and then it's going to add 1 white in the middle of the blue. We now have 2, we now have 3, and we notice that it's maxed out. And so if I want to go through and I want to add more, as soon as I add the 9th, the network actually shuts down because there's too many devices on that channel. And again, as soon as I destroy one, the network will come back up. So how I can prevent that in the future is by putting a thing like a controller within the network. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the ME controller. So this ME controller, which we have right here, is made up of 4 Skystone blocks. So those are from the meteors when you got your original plates and everything else for your inscriber to make your processors. That's where you're looking at the Skystone. We have our pure flux crystal, which you have to craft and make, and then we just have one of the engineering processors in the middle, and that will give you the ME controller. So this ME controller will allow for, each side will allow 32 channels to come in and out of it. And so you can see how the one side is maxed out now at 8, but this side we can still put more. And so each block has 6 sides, and it will allow you to connect multiple channels together. And this is where having things like even like your dense cables and everything else, wherever my dense ones went. There we go. I could branch these off on this side now, and I can put things like my drives on here. And I can see that I do have 2 drives connected to it just by looking at the top, where it says under the NEI at the very top. And we have all these. And I could also then put another storage on this side, or I could move the disks, let's say. Let's say I take this disk out. It disappears from there. The network now shows it has nothing in it. And I can put it in over here within the network, where it went. And we'll notice that again we have 12 Brad back in the system. And it's because the controller will act as the interface. And so each side on the controller, and you can combine multiple controllers together, will allow for 32 channels to come out of the side of it. And so you can make up to a 7x7 grid or a block with these controllers. And if you ever have too many of them or whatnot, again, your network will just shut down. So you'll notice along any channel or any side, if you ever have too many, again, like I said, it will just shut down. In this case, it doesn't shut down because it has up to 32, but it can only use 8. And so you'll notice that these devices do not all light up, and they all won't be powered. So hopefully that helps in getting things going and kind of showing you a little bit about building your first basic network and kind of getting. That's usually what people use it for initially, is the storage. What we're going to do is we're going to, in later episodes here, we're going to build it into our controller, our master controller, which we're going to run our entire base from. Is going to be in here. We're kind of leaving that in the floor. And we're going to put our storage, which we're going to build here shortly. We'll put that probably in the next episode here really quick, where we build some storage. And we're going to build banks of disks and everything else that's going to store both liquids and items within our network. So hope this was informational. It helped you guys out, specifically going through all the different types of cables, the 4 main types, plus there's 2 types of Ender IO, which should not be left out. Ender IO is an incredibly powerful network or connection system, I guess we'll say, that you can connect Redstone items together, you can connect ME network, you can transfer power over it, and they can all share the same common space within one block. So it's a great way to fit a lot of things in one small area, where the traditional AE stuff, you cannot. It basically consumes that block. So I can't add anything else within this block because this cable consumes it. But I can add other types of Ender IO, so I can transmit power over these same 3 blocks, along with transmitting ME information across these 2 machines. So if you have a small area and you need space, that's probably the best thing. So anyways, hope you guys like this, and don't forget to subscribe, or like I said, check out our comment, or feel free to comment if you guys have any comments on things we should do or could do better, and let us know how we're doing. Talk to you soon. Bye.